How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, we are back giving you guys our three key matchups, our three keys to the game in the Bears Week 7 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be a tough one, but regardless, we're still going to be giving you guys three keys that the Bears can possibly take advantage of if they want to stay competitive and possibly give themselves a chance to upset the reigning Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before I introduce myself and my co-host, I would like to say we're trying to put out the most comprehensive Bears coverage on the web each and every week, trying to post a video every day during the regular season. We're going to be a little bit inconsistent from time to time just because we get busy, but we're still trying to grind for you guys and put out as much content as possible. So if you haven't already, wherever you may be listening, do us a favor, drop a like, subscribe, or follow, and we're going to keep bringing you guys content every day of the week. I'm your host, Chris Maltby, today to talk more about the Week 7 matchup. I am joined with my co-host, Parth Shah. Parth, what's going on, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from class. I'm about to head to another one in a couple hours, so just got a little time to record in between, doing what we can for you guys and just pushing out videos. Like Chris said, we are busy at times, but we love recording Bear stuff, and obviously a big game this week against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, so let's get started talking about it, I guess.
Let's get into it, man. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, coming into this game, Justin Fields and Tom Brady will have the biggest age gap between each other of starting quarterbacks in NFL history. Fields coming in, just turned 22 back in March. Brady, 44, going on 45. So the record was broken a couple weeks ago with Mac Jones and Tom Brady, and last year with Justin Herbert and Tom Brady. But now Justin Fields, man, might have a chance to beat the greatest of all time and be the youngest quarterback ever to do it. So let's start with that man, Justin Fields, who had a little bit of a rocky week 6. I'll be completely honest, it wasn't the greatest play. But one thing I think anyone who watched the game in week 6 recognized is that Fields is holding on to the ball a little bit too long sometimes, and that can't happen this week. Not only can he not hold on to the ball and take sacks in some situations, but if he's going to throw the ball away, I think I said it in Meet the Opponents, you put that thing into the freaking stands. The Buccaneers are currently tied for the highest blitz rate in the league, and it might be due to a banged-up secondary. Obviously, they're missing Sean Murphy-Bunting. They're missing Carlton Davis. Antoine Winfield Jr. might miss this game. Richard Sherman currently listed as doubtful for this game on Thursday afternoon. Parth's going to get a little bit more into that later, but Tampa Bay has been relying on the blitz, and they're pretty darn good at it under defensive coordinator Todd Bowles. Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, William Golston, Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett. These guys will come for any quarterback in any instance. So Justin Fields has been sacked 3.43 times across his last 3 games. Obviously, that was after the game where 9 sacks were allowed to the Cleveland Browns. This Tampa Bay front 7 is one of the absolute best in the league. So if you're Justin Fields, you have to get the ball out quickly. We're not sure how the Bears offensive line is going to hold up statistically. They've been one of the worst units in the league so far. So if you're Justin Fields, especially against a weaker secondary, you have to try and get the ball out quickly. Got to try and get the play action involved. And if you're not going to get the ball out quickly, roll outside the pocket, get outside that passing zone, try to extend plays and make some things happen. We saw Jalen Hurts have some success doing that last week when the Bucs went up to Philadelphia and played the Eagles, and it ended up being a pretty good game there at the end. So if you're Justin Fields, you have to get the ball out quicker. I expect Bill Lazor to design that and rely on the pass a little bit more in the run in this one, because Tampa Bay's only been allowing about 85 rushing yards per game to opposing teams. So I think we're going to see Fields throwing the ball more. It makes sense in this one. The one real glaring, I guess, weakness that this Tampa Bay team that's going to be headed towards another Super Bowl, they're definitely going to be in contention. The only weakness they really have, I would say, is a banged up secondary. So if you're Justin Fields, you got to get the ball out quickly and hope that your wide receivers can win these one-on-one matchups. I know a lot of Bears fans have been wanting someone like an Allen Robinson to get going for quite some time. So Parth, I know you're going to expand a little bit more about this and talk about the effectiveness of the Bears passing game. They've only been averaging just about 150 160 passing yards per game, and that goes back to when Andy Dalton was a starter as well. So talk to me a little bit about how important it is that the Bears continue to give Justin Fields more opportunities in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Against a secondary that is currently all banged up. Last week, Richard Sherman got hurt. He currently is listed, I think, doubtful for this game. They've already lost Sean Murphy Bunting and Carlton Davis, their top two corners. So they're down to some, guys who weren't supposed to play starting corner this year for them, guys who haven't had the opportunity. And this is where Justin and this Bears offense has to take that chance. I think Antoine Winfield is also questionable for this game. So this gives the Bears a very good chance to, let Justin try to expand the field, try to, take some deep shots against the secondary, who is pretty hobbled. Last week we played the Packers, who had a pretty hobbled secondary. They were missing some key guys like Kevin King and Jerry Alexander, but we still weren't able to get anything going passing wise. I felt like it was choppy. It needs to be more consistent. I think the play calling needs to trust Justin more with the ball. I think that's all it is. You got to let Justin be able to find his guys. And it's okay if he makes mistakes. That's part of this process where he's becoming an NFL quarterback. Making mistakes is part of the process. And if he doesn't make those mistakes now, you don't want him to make it next year. That's the thing. You want him to get that development going. And the Bears haven't been really developing him. They've just let him do the bare minimum. I think you got to let him take strides from now on every game, take bigger steps. None of that 101, 201 stuff, but add on plays, let him manage the game more, let him, throw the ball maybe 5 more times a game, let him even run the ball a little bit more. I think Justin can take over the game with his legs, like I've said a lot. But the Bears definitely need to use Justin Fields to his advantage and let him use the play action to his advantage also. He's done that so far really well. And he's also been a pretty good, accurate deep passer as well through his couple of weeks of playing. So I think you got to increase the volume and see what happens. If mistakes happen. I think you just got to take them as we go. And that's the whole process of having a rookie quarterback starting for you.
Yeah, Parth, and I think we can continue to hammer home on this as we move forward. But I mean, the Bears traded up to get this guy 11th overall.
Yep.
You don't want to be putting handcuffs on him. And I think they've done that so far.
Exactly.
I'd like to see them obviously give him more than 25 passes in this one. And also, I do think it's still important that even though the Bears should rely on the pass more often, and I think a lot of people have been happy about how the Bears have been able to get the run game going this season, including myself. You're going to have to throw in this game. And you're also going to have to let Justin run. As you mentioned, Jalen Hurts had a couple nice rushes, I believe 45 yards and 2 touchdowns last week against the Tampa Bay defense. So if you can wear these guys down, they aren't as lethal of a unit as they look like, just because
not
of
as lethal as last year, that's for sure. This Bucs defense is obviously hurt a little bit, but they're a well-coached defense. Todd Bowles does a really good job with this defense. So you got to be ready for the packages and stuff that they put out against Justin because he's a rookie, and I bet Bowles has studied all his tape, and he's a really good coordinator. I really like him as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, not so much as a head coach, but definitely one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. But a lot of this game is going to be on Justin Fields because, as I previously mentioned, the Buccaneers have one of the highest blitz rates in the entirety of the league. I believe they're within the top 5 and actually in first place, if not tied for first, in the amount that they end up blitzing. So regardless of how their defensive unit has been playing in comparison to last year, they've still got some dogs that are going to come at you. So I guess we can pair the first and second keys with one another.
This
You
is
got to do Justin
I think
Fields more.
it's the worst passing offense versus the worst passing defense. If I'm not wrong, the Bears have been averaging around 155 through the air, and the Bucs are allowing 315 through the air. So the Bears definitely need to get some passing yards this game to move the ball and also increase the time of possession. We don't want our defense to be out there for that long. Like I said, we got to run the ball and pass the ball. Tom Brady out there for too long is never a good sight, which I guess leads into the next point.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. But as you mentioned, I mean, that Tampa Bay defense is allowing almost 400 total yards per game and only 54.8 on average on the ground to opposing teams. So that just shows the importance of having the pass against this Tampa Bay defense. I've liked what the Bears have been able to get going in the rushing game this year, but a little bit worried just because based on the numbers and based on how they've played, this Tampa Bay defense has been really stout against the run. So the Bears are going to have to rely on the pass a lot more in this one. Let Justin Fields do his thing. Let him sling the rock. As Parth mentioned, there's going to be mistakes, but those are the types of kinks that you have to get out as you let him develop and become a better player. So overall, passing is going to be huge in this one. Let's head into our third matchup before we close this one out. And this is pretty obvious. I mean, the Bears might be missing Robert Quinn in this one. He came out and said he was vaccinated. He did test positive for COVID-19, but if he tests negative twice before Sunday's game, he'll be able to play against the Buccaneers. But right now, his availability is still up in the air. But you have to get pressure on Tom Brady. I think one of Khalil Mack's best games last year, and everyone can dog on Khalil Mack all they want for last year. I still think he was a really solid pass rusher, and he's really coming back into his own this year with guys like Quinn and Hicks and Goldman, and guys like Travis Gibson around him stepping up. He's able to get his opportunities and get his. But I think one of the best games Khalil Mack had last year was against Tampa Bay. Obviously, everyone remembers it for that play where he flipped over Tristan Wirfs after getting to Tom Brady. And I look back on that as an Iowa fan and always gives me a good chuckle. But you've got to get pressure on Tom Brady just because I'm super worried about how this Bears secondary is going to pan out in this one. The Bears have been allowing 245.7 passing yards per game to opposing teams. Tom Brady's been averaging 350. That's an extra 100. I think this is the best quarterback that the Bears are going up so far against this season. They've already faced guys like Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't get much easier down this death row of games that Chicago's got coming up. So you have to get pressure to Tom Brady at any means. The Bears have been blitzing the least, I believe, at the third lowest rate in the league, which might be something they have to do because they can't afford to bring those extra players in when they need to drop people back in coverage. But somehow, some way, someone's got to step up. Akeem Hicks, hopefully getting healthy here again. Eddie Goldman, Khalil Mack, obviously doesn't really practice much throughout the week, but he's always good to go on Sundays. Someone has to get to Tom Brady at any cost, because otherwise guys like Mike Evans, guys like Chris Godwin, and guys like Antonio Brown, especially in the slot, are going to absolutely burn you alongside Tom Brady. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of 3 Key Matchups. If you haven't already, do us a favor, drop a like, subscribe, follow. We're going to be bringing you guys Bears content the rest of the week before we get to this game against Tampa Bay on Sunday, week 7. If you want more content from us, head to our website, beardown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs each and every day, getting you guys ready for the week 7 matchup as well. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Bear Down. We are giving away a Justin Fields jersey this week. That will be announced a little bit later. So if you want to enter that giveaway, it's going to be free to enter. Check out our social media pages. And finally, you can find the links to our social media pages down in the description, our personal pages, that is, for myself as well as Parth. You can find our Instagram and Twitter pages. It's another great way to interact with us, and you can see our thoughts on all things Bears, the NFL, and the entirety of Chicago sports. So Parth Shaw, pretty good day yesterday. Bulls squeaking out a win. Little rusty, new
Go
group
Bulls.
getting together there against the Pistons, but I have high hopes for this Bulls team. NBA getting back into gear. So a lot going on, not to mention the MLB playoffs as well, hockey, Chicago Sky coming off the title. A lot going on right now, but any last words before we sign off?
Yeah, a lot going on. Big Bears game this weekend, obviously. A big IU versus Ohio State game. We're obviously going to get wrecked, but I hate Ohio State. But so I hope we somehow win. But should be a good one. I'll be there. 7:30. Barstool guys are actually going to be here too. So it's going to be a nice time here in Bloomington. So
Yeah, you got a big weekend coming up. Iowa has the
Exactly.
weekend off, but I'll be watching the Bulls to keep me entertained alongside the Bears. But, bigger and bigger weekends of football continue to approach as we move down the stretch. Another great slate of games tonight. We've got the injury-riddled Browns versus the injury-riddled Broncos. So a lot going on. I just love that nowadays you can turn on your TV anytime and there's normally a good sporting event going on. So a lot to look forward to, obviously, with another big Bears game this weekend. Another good chance for Justin Fields to hopefully show out and get the passing game more implemented. Guys, it's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Maltby, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.